This was more than a tournament. This was an unprecedented chapter in Icelandic football. Euro 2016 remains the only time Iceland has ever qualified for the UEFA European Championship, an extraordinary achievement etched forever in their history. Generations had dreamed, but in France, a small nation turned impossible into reality. Every moment, every match was a gift, an adventure never before lived and never since repeated. A land forged by fire and ice, where every child grows up beneath looming volcanoes and endless skies. In 2016, a resilient island, a nation of just 330,000 people, fewer than the population of many football stadiums, was never meant to stand among Europe's giants. Yet, they prepared to defy football fate. Few believed. Iceland believed.
By the early 2000s, a revolution was quietly underway. Indoor football halls were built, coaching licenses were pursued at unprecedented rates. Per capita, Iceland had more UEFA-qualified coaches than any other nation. A nation of 330,000 was preparing to punch above its weight.
Against all odds, Iceland qualified for Euro 2016. They topped giants like the Netherlands in their group. It wasn't luck, it was discipline, unity, and belief. When the draw placed them in Group F with Portugal, Austria, and Hungary, few gave them hope. But Iceland carried the spirit of a nation. The giants of Portugal, led by Cristiano Ronaldo, were expected to steamroll, but Iceland stood their ground. When Portugal struck first, hearts raced in every Icelandic home. Yet, seemingly against the odds, Birkir Bjarnason pounced on a cross, netting Iceland's historic first-ever goal at a major tournament. The joy was seismic, a 1-1 draw that felt like a win, sending tremors through Europe's football hierarchy. Next, Iceland took on Hungary. It was a bruising battle, with every minute a test of will. Iceland coolly converted a penalty, and Iceland held their lead as long as the mountains have stood. But just minutes from victory, a cruel own goal left Iceland deflated. Another draw, but proof they would not falter. The final group clash was a heart-stopper. Austria pressed relentlessly. Iceland's defense bowed but refused to break. Iceland lit the fuse with the first half goal, but Austria clawed level. Then, deep into stoppage time, Iceland again slides the ball home. This last gasp jubilation sent Iceland, unbeaten, into the knockout rounds. The nation erupted in pride and tears. Round of 16. England, a footballing superpower. Within minutes, England scored. It seemed Iceland's dream would end. But just 34 seconds later, they equalized. Soon after, Iceland struck again. 90 minutes later, history was written. Iceland 2, England 1. The giant had fallen. Facing England, the birthplace of football, Iceland were again written off. But every tackle, every clearance, every clap was defiance. Iceland triumphed, rewriting history and sending shockwaves across the sporting world. In the quarterfinals, Iceland's fairy tale met football royalty. France dazzled, racing to a 4-0 lead before halftime. Yet Iceland refused surrender. The team clawed back 2 goals, fans singing louder with each. The dream ended, but the sense of pride, unity, and joy was limitless. Iceland proved they belonged among Europe's elite, never defeated, forever triumphant in spirit.
The Viking clap was more than a sound. It was Iceland's spirit made flesh. In those moments, strangers became kin, every heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of hope. Even rivals paused, swept away by unity and pride that shook continents. Iceland didn't raise the trophy, but they raised the bar for every dreamer. They carried respect, pride, and a legacy carved into football's heart. In 2016, among giants, Iceland's fire burned brightest, not for their size, but for the immensity of their courage. They stood tall against Portugal in their opening match, the same Portugal who would go on to defeat Poland, Wales, and France to lift the trophy. Iceland's journey ended, but their spirit ensured they were never forgotten.